Hurricanes, are powerful storms born over warm ocean waters. They're nature's massive engines, fueled by moisture and heat. These storms gather strength as they move across the sea, spinning into colossal systems of wind and rain. For centuries, island nations like Jamaica have learned to respect their immense power. They follow predictable paths, allowing for preparation and warning. But Hurricane Melissa was different. It did not follow the usual rules. It defied the forecasts and showed a terrifying ability to grow stronger in a very short amount of time. This storm was not just another hurricane, it was a meteorological anomaly that would test the limits of what we thought we knew about these storms. What made Melissa so unusual was its rapid intensification. Meteorologists watched in disbelief as it transformed. It started as a disorganized tropical storm, seemingly posing a moderate threat. Then, over the incredibly warm waters of the Caribbean Sea, it exploded in strength. It jumped from a tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane, and then, in less than 24 hours, it intensified into a monstrous Category 5 storm. This speed of growth is exceptionally rare. It left little time for people to grasp the true danger heading their way. The storm's path was also erratic, making its final target uncertain until the last moment, which only added to the growing sense of dread across the region. The science behind this intensification points to a combination of factors. The ocean's surface temperature was several degrees warmer than average, providing a supercharged fuel source for the storm. Additionally, the atmospheric conditions were perfect. There was very little wind shear, the change in wind speed and direction with height, which often tears hurricanes apart. This created a perfect, undisturbed environment for Melissa to organize and strengthen. It became a tightly wound, symmetrical monster with a perfectly clear eye, a sign of its incredible power. It was the kind of storm that forecasters hoped to never see, a worst-case scenario, barreling toward a vulnerable island nation. As Melissa churned toward the Caribbean, its sheer size was staggering. The storm stretched for hundreds of miles, its outer bands already lashing nearby islands with rain and wind. The pressure inside the storm dropped to historically low levels, another indicator of its extreme intensity. For the people of Jamaica, the final forecast was a nightmare realized. The storm was on a direct collision course with the western part of the island. There was no longer any uncertainty. The warnings became urgent and dire. Authorities urged immediate evacuations from coastal and low-lying areas, but for many, there was nowhere safe to go. They could only brace for the arrival of one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic. When Hurricane Melissa made landfall, it was a moment of pure terror. The storm arrived as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane. Its winds were relentless, reaching sustained speeds that tore the very fabric of communities apart. These were not just strong gusts, they were a constant, violent force that sounded like a freight train that would never end. The winds ripped roofs from homes as if they were made of paper. They snapped massive trees in half and turned everyday objects into deadly projectiles. The sheer power of the wind was something many survivors said they could not have imagined, a force that seemed determined to obliterate everything in its path. The rain that accompanied the wind was just as destructive. It was a torrential downpour that quickly overwhelmed the island's natural and man-made drainage systems. The rain came down in blinding sheets, reducing visibility to almost zero and turning roads into raging rivers. This wasn't just a heavy rainstorm, it was a deluge of historic proportions. The mountainous terrain of Jamaica, which gives the island its beautiful landscape, became a major hazard. The saturated soil on the hillsides gave way, triggering countless landslides. These rivers of mud and rock cascaded down into valleys, burying homes, roads, and anything else that stood in their way, creating new dangers for those who had survived the initial winds. Along the coastline, a third threat emerged: the storm surge. Melissa's powerful winds pushed a massive wall of seawater onto the land. This surge inundated coastal communities, with water levels rising rapidly and flooding homes and businesses. The waves were enormous, crashing over seawalls and eroding beaches that had been popular tourist destinations. The combination of the storm surge and the torrential rain created widespread, catastrophic flooding. Low-lying areas were completely submerged, turning entire neighborhoods into murky, dangerous lakes. For those trapped near the coast, there was no escape as the ocean itself seemed to swallow the land. The initial hours of the storm were a desperate struggle for survival. Power grids failed almost immediately, plunging the entire island into darkness. The howling wind and crashing waves were the only sounds. Communication lines were severed, cutting people off from the outside world and from each other. Families huddled together in the strongest parts of their homes, listening as the storm tore their lives apart piece by piece. They could not call for help. They did not know what was happening to their neighbors or loved ones. For those hours, Jamaica was isolated and at the mercy of Melissa's unrelenting wrath, a terrifying experience of profound vulnerability. As the sun rose the day after Melissa's passage, it revealed a landscape of utter devastation. The storm had left behind a humanitarian crisis of immense scale. The most immediate problem was the flooding. Vast areas of the island remained submerged under feet of contaminated water. Entire communities were cut off, transformed into isolated islands amidst a sea of floodwater. Families were stranded on rooftops or in the upper floors of their battered homes, with no access to food, clean water, or medical supplies. The situation was desperate, and for many, the danger had not passed with the storm. The lingering floodwaters posed a serious risk of disease and injury. The damage to Jamaica's infrastructure was catastrophic. Roads and bridges were simply gone, washed away by floods or buried under landslides. This made it nearly impossible for rescue teams to reach the hardest-hit areas. The communication network was in shambles. With cell towers down and fiber optic cables severed, people had no way to contact emergency services or let their families know they were alive. The nationwide power outage added to the chaos and despair, leaving hospitals and shelters to rely on failing generators. Without power, there was no way to pump clean water, store food safely, or keep critical medical equipment running. The country was effectively paralyzed. In this desperate situation, innovative solutions were required. With roads impassable, emergency responders turned to the skies. Drones became a lifeline for thousands of stranded people. These small, unmanned aircraft were deployed to survey the damage and, more importantly, to deliver essential supplies. They flew over the floodwaters, dropping packages of food, water, and basic medical kits to families who were completely cut off from any other form of help. For those trapped and losing hope, the sight of a drone arriving with aid was a moment of profound relief. It was a sign that they had not been forgotten in the midst of the chaos. The storm's impact on businesses and the economy was equally severe. Jamaica's tourism industry, a vital pillar of its economy, was crippled. Resorts along the coast were heavily damaged, their beaches eroded and their buildings battered. The images of destruction that spread across the globe led to mass cancellations, and the flow of tourists stopped overnight. Local businesses, from small shops to large farms, were also destroyed. Crops were wiped out by the flooding, and storefronts were left in ruins. For a nation that relies so heavily on tourism and agriculture, the economic blow was staggering, promising a long and difficult path to financial recovery. In the weeks following Hurricane Melissa, the focus has shifted from immediate survival to the monumental task of recovery. The challenges are overwhelming. The first priority is providing for the basic needs of the population. Thousands of people are homeless, living in temporary shelters or with relatives. They need safe housing, consistent access to food and clean water, and medical care. International aid has begun to arrive, but the sheer scale of the destruction means that resources are stretched thin. The logistical nightmare of distributing aid across a country with shattered infrastructure remains a daily struggle for relief organizations and the government. Rebuilding the nation's infrastructure is a task that will take years, if not decades. Hundreds of miles of roads need to be cleared and repaired. Bridges that were washed away must be completely rebuilt. The power grid requires a near-total overhaul, as do the communication networks. This is not just about repairing what was there before, it is about building back stronger and more resilient to future storms. This requires immense investment, technical expertise, and careful planning. For now, temporary fixes are being put in place, but long-term solutions are desperately needed to ensure the country can withstand the next major hurricane. The economic recovery is another daunting challenge. Reviving the tourism sector is critical, but it cannot happen until the resorts are rebuilt and the island's natural beauty is restored. This will take time and a significant amount of capital. In the meantime, tens of thousands of people who work in the tourism industry are without jobs. The agricultural sector also needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. farmers need assistance to clear their lands, acquire new seeds and livestock, and recover from the total loss of their crops. Supporting these local economies is essential for the long-term stability and well-being of the Jamaican people. Despite the immense hardship, the spirit of the Jamaican people remains unbroken. In communities across the island, stories of resilience and solidarity have emerged. Neighbors are helping neighbors clear debris, share scarce resources, and rebuild their homes. Volunteers are working tirelessly alongside official rescue teams. This deep sense of community is a powerful force for recovery. However, they cannot do it alone. Jamaica needs sustained international support, not just in the form of financial aid, but also in expertise and materials. The path forward is long and filled with obstacles, but there is a shared determination to rebuild, to heal, and to ensure that Jamaica emerges from the shadow of Melissa stronger than before.